What's happening, everybody? We are back for a new episode. It is your boy Ronimus Prime. I am with my my cohort, my partner in crime, Alan Lynch, and we have a special guest today, Mr. Edward Brown, the creator of Deathblade. How are you gentlemen doing today?
We're doing good.
I'm good.
I'm doing as well as can be. So I had this opening monologue. I'm gonna try to keep it brief because honestly, we used to live in this thing called the 24-hour news cycle. Now with everything, it's like the 10-minute news cycle. And so when I initially thought of this monologue was earlier this week, I'm not gonna go through it all. It is about Milestone, but I'm just gonna try to keep it brief and say, like, I want the book to do well, the Dakota incident, but I believe like 100,000 copies is good. I believe that's good for anybody. But for me, it's don't just show up. You know, if they do get a series, just don't just show up for issues 1 through 6. Don't just show up for issues 7 through 12. Show up, you know, for issues 13 through 18, 19 through 24. But also do so if it actually resonates with you. Don't do so out of obligation. Because I have a personal belief, you know, I always get the order messed up, so I want to get it right. Look if you're interested, buy it if you like it, share it if you love it.
Right.
I think following that will take you so much further than like some obligatory need to buy it and buy 700 copies. Because I mean, if the covers are cool, then yeah. You know, by all means, I mean, I do that. I'll buy multiple covers if it's different and they, you know, they resonate with me. But like following that principle, I think will take you so much further than just I'm buying this just to show DC that these are hot properties or whatever.
Right.
You know, if you love something, you'll share it. Word of mouth does wonders for things, you know, and then once again, buy it if it resonates with you.
Yeah.
You know, I've been a collector for over 20 years. There's plenty of things that I could have bought. It don't resonate with me. And I mean, I was initially going to, you know, talk more about like the whole thing between Blurred Without Fear and Rob and whatnot. But the reality is I side with Rob. If it don't resonate with you, why buy it? You know what I mean? Like you're going to waste money.
I think one of the challenges for Milestones, they were supposed to come out earlier, and you know they've always been reset. You know, I'm a huge Dwayne McDuffie fan. I'm a huge fan of his. Milestone, I think DC is trying to make it come out as, you know, hey, this is our Black universe. You know, okay, this is what we're coming out with. You guys need to purchase it. And that's not how I look at it. And to be honest with you, my vision has changed, you know, from 5 years ago. It's not the same.
I like that you said that because there's some people that I talk with, and it's like 5 years ago, there was this like Black Panther social justice wave where it was like support Black, support Black, support Black. And it's like, there's nothing wrong with that. But at the end of the day, before Black Panther, after, I was a comic book fan.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, and now we're kind of seeing that wave dissipate a little bit, and I think buyers are being a little bit more discerning. And it's like,
let's see, that lies the problem. One of the things, you know, people may not like when I say this. I'm a huge DC fan. Superman. Like I said, Christopher Reeve was my first Superman. I don't care what anyone say; he was the best Superman ever. Okay? Period. You can try anything. He could be serious. He could be comical. He was Superman.
You didn't like George Reeves?
I mean,
that was before his time, man.
No. So
don't let it go here fool you.
Yeah, he can't go fool. I mean, Christopher Reeves is my man. Always be the Superman for me because he played the part the way it is. It was natural. But what I'm trying to say is that I feel with Black Panther came out, everyone was doing this and everyone was getting excited. None of that money went to the Black community. None of that money sat up and helped bring in new characters, bring in new Black opportunities. So for me, if you ask me today, I'm not interested in Black Panther. I'm not interested in DC's Dakota incident. I'm interested in seeing an independent Black comic get its universe out there so people can see a true opportunity, a true natural ability. That's what I want to see. That one gets me excited. So excuse me if I, hey, I'm going to go buy the book because I am a Dwayne McDuffie fan. I hope that it is good. I'm going to take a look at it and see if it's good, then I'll buy it. But I'll be honest with you, it's not going to break my heart. I get more excited watching my guys over at Stranger Comics, Concrete Advent, Ray Comics, my boy over at Wise Comics. That's what I get excited about. If you want to excite me, you're going to hit me with DC or Marvel, I'm going to look at you kind of side-eye, be like, yeah, all right, that's cool. But, whatever.
And so for me, like, I don't think it has to be a zero-sum game. I don't think it has to be either or. I think people need to put it in context. Like, you can love DC, you can love indies. My only thing is like, I want to be able to say what I really feel regardless. You should
be able to feel that.
And sometimes
that's the thing that's where we missing. You got to be upfront. Like I tell my team every day, don't give me BS. I don't need someone to kiss in my behind and tell me, "Oh, that's great, Eddie. You could do that." No. Tell the truth. Yeah. Don't set up and set people up and just saying, "Hey, hey, Wakanda Forever," and then you go back and say, "The movie really wasn't that great because Black Panther wasn't in it." Then why are you doing this? You know what I'm saying? This is crazy.
There's this thing where we kind of got to stand united, no matter what. It can come back and bite you in the ass. The concept is always this thing about a rising tide raises all boats, but the truth of the matter, it doesn't.
It's true.
Because the ones who are at the top or the ones who tend to benefit from this, the only way it would raise, let's say the same indies, let's say the Dakota, I don't really want to get into it. Let's say the Dakota incident does sell 200,000 copies. The idea is it is great for Black comics. It's great for Black indies. And the idea is also saying, well, if they like that, they will then turn around and look at the indies and say, we want more of this. But that's not true.
No,
that's not true. It's not true. So the only way that it can happen that way would be if the people who are at the top, who benefited from the sales, the marketing, the success, the push, went back and pulled up some of the other people and gave them a break and helped them. Because just saying that the industry is thriving, everyone will thrive is not true.
No, that's like the economy here. You come to America, is the greatest piece of apple pie, and you're going to be successful. Like there's gold on the streets. Come on, that's not going to happen.
Yeah. So I kind of take offense to that analogy and trying to sell the indie creators on that point. That's why it's good, because it will help. It's not going to help. The only way it's going to help us is if someone goes out of their way to help us. Right. It only helps if, I was telling someone today, a lot of this stuff to do with success, right? Is luck. And it's not magical luck. It's being in the right place at the right time to be able to benefit from an opportunity. I've seen a lot of books in the spaces that easily could become a Netflix, streaming service, cartoon, a show that could be big. They have the story, they have the quality, but they're not going to get the success unless they happen to stumble onto the right person, the right eyes to get mentioned in the right meeting.
Alan, here's the thing that you're saying, and it's true. And this is something as independent creators, visibility. We don't have the same visibility like a Marvel or DC. I mean, you have to use guerrilla marketing.
Yeah, guerrilla tactics.
Roots. And I'm gonna be honest with you. A lot of our creators, when they finish creating their IPs, they don't market and advertise them. They don't give them a chance to breathe.
I'm guilty. I suck at marketing.
They do not get a chance to breathe. You need at least 3 to 4 months after you are done. Matter of fact, while you're doing it, you should be pushing. Say, hey, I got a Kickstarter. I'm coming out. Getting in front of the people. That's one of the things that I would say before I even started Deathblade. You know, and I am a marketing degree. I do have the cons for marketing, but even still, I'm not perfect. But one of the things that I realized is visibility, and that's what I was talking with Ron this past week. Visibility is huge. That's the difference. That's a major difference.
And so to that actually, because I wanted to talk about kind of like resonate, and so I'll just say that real quick, and then I'll give my little spiel about visibility. The other thing is, folks, understand there's more than one way to appreciate something. Like I have Milestone books, and I have them because I like their historical significance. Like I use Ebon #1 as an example. Like if I had that book, it wouldn't be because it was like I enjoyed the story, but I would enjoy it for its historical, significance. Same reason why I've told you guys off camera, I have Luke Cage Hero for Hire #1. I'm not a big Luke Cage fan, but I have it for its historical significance, and it also fills the slot in my Black comic book collection. So understand there's more than one way to appreciate this thing. So
that's true.
So it can't just be, support Black by Black. There's more, because I am a comic book fan. There's more than one way to enjoy something. And going back to this loyalty, like, look, when there's a genuine love, like I have a genuine love for Alan's books, so I have no problem telling people about them, And so I'll read a lot of what Alan writes. You have people understand, as people say, I think people say the term like, we're not a monolith, but it's like, do you really understand what you're saying when you say that? Because you say that, but the reality is you really want people to be a monolith. Because in comic book collecting, there are people, they don't care actually about the story. They don't care about the character. They will follow the artist to hell and back. There are people, they will follow a writer like I was talking to these guys earlier, and I use the example. You got people that'll follow a writer, and he didn't got to write not near a superhero character. He could write about a fucking Mountain Dew can dipped in moon dust, and they will read that because they like that person, and they have no problem talking about that person. And it is really dope to see that genuine level of joy, and that'll make people want to talk about it, That's true. And it'll get people curious. Like I saw a post on a Facebook page, and it was a story by the Luna brothers. What is it, Girl or whatever? And this guy was like, I just picked it up, blah, blah, blah. And then you read the comments, and in the comments, it's tons of people talking about, oh yeah, that's an interesting story. It's like naked zombie girls, blah, blah, blah. And then there were people like, okay, they're like, it's not like a porn comic, but it's like, it's a horror book. And I remember when that book came out, and it was good to see people in the comments like, now you've piqued my interest. I'm gonna go check that out. And that's a book that came out over 20 years ago.
That's
what I'm saying? But
Massacre. So the Texas Chainsaw Massacre was, women,
it's just like,
hey, I'm a 90s baby, so I'm sorry.
Yeah, but no, but just seeing that type of, those people said to say, this is good, is like, there were other people like, okay, I was aware of the Luna brothers, but now I'm actually going to go check this out. What I'm saying? And so that's why you want genuine love. Like I personally think, and I'm not saying the Dakota incident isn't going to be important, but I think Philip Thompson's Collections in Black is going to be 10 times more important.
Right.
I know the joy I get from just watching his behind the scenes stuff. Like I always mess up his name, even now. As many times I said Dennis Cowan. I always want to say Denise. Forgive me, Dennis Cowan. You look at episode 3 of the behind the scenes stuff, and listen, I'm not necessarily a fan of Bitterroot and whatnot, but when they're showing these pages and you're seeing these dudes just fawn and be excited, that's infectious. It was dope seeing Dennis Cowan look at these various Marvel, I think it were Marvel or DC pages. Y'all don't come from my head for this, but I can't remember exactly. But I know it was like Marvel and DC pages, and he knew the artist. Like, that's what you want. And he has a genuine smile. He's like, there's no bad Kirby art, you know, and you see that genuine love and everything there. That's infectious. Like that.
But to add to your point, Ron, that's what the indie community needs, and that's what we're lacking. Exactly. We need people who are genuine fans, and some of it is on the backs of the creator, because the creators have to create products that will generate fans. But we need genuine fans that love that. When I've watched podcasts, I listen to stuff, and I can tell when someone actually, as you said, read the book, enjoyed the book, and are genuinely intrigued by a book, versus when people are just doing it out of obligation because they're trying to push the narrative or the community forward. You know what I mean? So that is disingenuous, and it will cause the whole thing to collapse, because people can only do something so long that they're forced to do or they don't like to do before all the energy is kind of just sapped. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I agree with you. I totally agree with you. I think that one of the problems, you know, Black History Month, like I tell people, someone said, well, Black creators weren't doing anything for Black History Month. Black History Month to me is every day, 365 days a year. That's Black History Month for me. Okay, I live it. I'm Black. Okay, so I don't need to celebrate on a special day. Special day is every day. I think one of the things too for us as creators, being that we, like you said, to be infectious, to show the excitement, to show that you truly, you're truly about this book. It's not just about I'm looking to sell Deathblade. I enjoy doing it.
Yeah,
I enjoy making it. I enjoy the challenges. I enjoy the journey. And I think a lot of people sometimes they get lost and it just becomes more of a business than rather, and there's nothing wrong with that. But I think as for creators ourselves is, I feel that you have to enjoy what you do.
Yeah.
And I know this may sound crazy because it's like, Ed, you say that's not true. I don't need to make $1 million. If I got one person who liked my book, then I've accomplished a lot from zero.
Yeah.
So there's this book right here called Words for Pictures. And to expound on what you said, Brian Michael Bendis, who probably has made $1 million, will tell you that's more than likely not going to happen. Right. So you have to do this thing because you like it. I mean, like I tell Alan all the time, I mean, it's a joke between us. Like this podcast, I mean, it's not the same financial investment you guys have, but it's costing me money to do this.
Oh, yeah.
I'm not getting paid to do this,
Exactly.
I'm paying to do this, and I do it because I like it.
Exactly. You just said it on the word. I mean, when I did Deathblade, I spent over $50,000.
Yeah, that is something
that's not known for an indie. Indie don't normally spend that type of money.
But something I would love to do with a show in the future, maybe even could probably come back, is that I also think that a lot of people don't understand the financial commitment that goes into creating a comic book. And the bleed, I like to call it the bleed, where the cost of things just constantly change and it just keeps rising and going up. So so even if you started and you thought this book will cost you $5,000, because every single step of the way costs the creator money. When you get that extra cover, when you get that poster, when you change colorists, when you abandon 5 pages, when you change an editor, or you get an editor and he has to pay for You have to pay for every page he looks at, even if it doesn't have dialogue on it. All of these things add up constantly.
And you didn't even include marketing dollars.
No.
If you ask me, I can tell you, if you'd asked me 5 years ago how much I would cost to pay for a comic book, I couldn't tell you.
Yeah.
I just knew, hey, I had a range. Which, of course, my wife was like livid.
Yeah.
Because she was like, you're spending that much money.
Yeah.
You know, so I know you can spend that much money, but hey, it's worth it. It paid off. But you have to be able to invest because people know if you're BSing. They know if you're not investing money in.
There's a joke that people say, right?
Right.
How do you make $1 million in comic books?
You got to
sell. You got to put $2 million.
Yeah.
So, it's kind of depressing when you think of it. But
that is true.
This actually
a lot of
go ahead, Al.
No, but saying I would like to do an episode about educating people the true cost and what you go through, right?
Right.
Because as I said, a lot of people jump in. A lot of people. That's why you will find someone, and then even too for the fan base who come and say things like, "You put out a book this year. How come I'm not getting a book in 2 months?" You know what I mean? Because they don't understand how much it went into this, even to that one book. So there's a lot of things that the general public, or I personally, I saw it mainly as a hobby. I was fortunate enough to just like how you would have a hobby in classic cars or motorcycles.
Right.
It was comic books for me. So I was able to put aside the money or whatever. But those who go into this thinking that it is an easy business, it is not. It's not one that you look. Don't bet your house on it.
No, it's not. I can tell you. I tell you a story of, before we chose our artist Yusuf Shittalk to do our artwork, and giving credits out to Aline Leggett. I don't know if you guys are familiar with Sweet Pea, The Diaries of Sweet Pea. He went on Kickstarter and blew up. He introduced me to his team, which is Yusuf and Alfred. And I already had an artist. I was already paying money for him to do it, right? So I connected with Ink Studios, who do a lot of the major Kickstarters. And they introduced me to Aline, and Kevin kept telling me, let Aline team do something. I was like, all right, I'll let him do something. Shittalk did M, which is in issue 1, fans are definitely gravitating to. And he changed that look that you guys see now. That was Shittalk who did that change. Actually, Aline did that change, and Shittalk just blew it out of the water. And I had to go, after I paid this guy, I had to tell him, dude, I'm sorry. Your service is no longer needed. And the thing was hard for me. It was hard for me because
it's hard.
Because you're sitting up there, and then my wife is my accountant. So she's like, you just paid $3,000 for that guy, and you're firing him. I said, this is the guy that I had to pay, and I don't regret it. I don't regret it. But it's like you said, people don't know how easy it is until you get into it.
No.
You get into it, you got to make decisions. And those decisions can either kill you or break you. Now, I'm not saying that artist was bad, because he wasn't. He just wasn't for Deathblade.
Something that you said there is, when I tend to write, and I know a few artists, I tend to write a story centered around that artist's style. So I don't write I don't just give any story to any artist. Sometimes I write a story for a certain artist based on his strengths. And what is kind of, as you said, where you fired the guy, but instead I have had cases where I didn't fire someone, but I was forced to finish a book, because something that happens when you are a creator, if you have a really good relationship with the artist, even if you're not you weren't friends before, and the only connection is between you and this book, is that sometimes if you have that synergy and that bond, you feel obligated to finish the book because they put so much effort and time into it. So that's the reason sometimes why I've only published a book, because I am doing it because the team did such a great job. I think I owe it to them to put it out so that they can see their finished work rather than just keep it on my hard drive.
And see, I agree with you. I agree with you on that. It's just, for me at that time, I realized that Yusuf was he's special.
Yeah.
And I knew immediately, I said, dude, I would love, he already got paid.
Yeah.
Okay. I already paid him. So it wasn't like anything. I just said, look, dude, we're just going in a different direction. And that direction just isn't you at that time. But I agree with you. I couldn't, but for me,
so I could tell. So when you said it, I could feel the pain, because I know it's not easy. Because as I said, you would have sat and talked with that guy for months. You all would have hashed out ideas. You all would have been excited. So then to tell the guy, like, you got to walk, that would have been rough on both.
It was rough, because I called Brian Cochran, the writer, and I was like, dude, we're in trouble. I stalled for 3 weeks. I was trying to come up with something. I was like, man, I was like, dude, I better come up with something. And then something just told me, said, Ed, you just need to be honest with him. And that's why we were talking about earlier. You have to be upfront, man.
You gotta be upfront.
You can't sit there and that guy respects me. He understands.
So just real quick, I want to highlight this book again, because that's something that I did it in the last episode, but there's a lot of information in this book. And one of the things Bendis does talk about is artist synergy. Like, he talks about, like, just the relationship with the artists, and plus they have an artist round table in there, and the artists talk about, like, some of the problems that they face with writers, like when you put too much on the page and blah, blah, blah. So one of the things that I'm making sure I do this year is kind of highlight more resources and stuff like that. But to your point, like I said, that's a harsh reality. And I want people to understand that is not unique to comics. If y'all think that's unique to comics, you got another thing coming. Right. The Big Bang Theory. Kaylee Cuoco was not the original Penny. They actually, people go look up pilot episodes and see who changed. Arrow, since we're talking comics, right? Arrow, go back and look at the first episode and see who's with Oliver on the boat. That is not the same woman who takes that character later on and ends up doing the spinoff show. So things change. The nature of relationships changes. And you gotta, like you guys said, you gotta be prepared for that. You gotta make those decisions. You gotta be true. You gotta have a thick skin, which leads me to my next thing, because oh my God, the nature of review. If you only knew the stuff that we see behind the scenes, where it's just like, y'all, it's like you got into this thing and didn't think that you could get a bad review, that like, man, no, you guys don't understand. You're going to hurt sales, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, how many people do you think opened up a restaurant, which has an even more significant financial cost, and their food is bad? Right. And they got a bad review because their food is bad. Their service was bad. This is, once again, loyalty out of obligation. This is kind of what people got mad about Keith Lee for. Like, don't put this out here, blah, blah, blah. Okay, you in Atlanta, almost all black run city. Just because of that does not mean your food is good.
That's true.
You know, it's like I seen the clip because Troy sent it to me. I can't remember. It's Gilly. Gilly was like, okay, cool. You got a black restaurant. He said, is your food good? Is your service good? Besides this thing, why else should I be here? You know what I'm saying? So I just wanted to throw that in there. And
but you know what? You mentioned something, you know, I remember when we were talking, I remember when everyone was talking about critics and reviews. One of the things that I have learned throughout my life, and I've always kept it 100%, is that when you do your work, people are always grading you. People are always looking at your work. How do you expect to get better if I'm sitting up and I'm just glazing you, like what my daughter calls?
Yeah, it's
You know what I'm saying? Like saying, hey, that's the greatest book, and then you know good and well that book is not good. Why would I do that? That's the reason. That's the reason why Jim Amoli Anderson of Great Comics, I will back him all day long. Because when I bought Deathblade, he ripped me a new one. He told me exactly what I needed to do. He said, Ed, this is what you need to do here. You need to change. You need to develop the relationships. This is what I'm looking for. This is what readers want. And don't give us this stuff like, yes, you're Marvel, you're DC. I've seen that. Give me something different, something unique. That's what's going to catch me.
Yeah.
People have to understand that. And then on top of that, get an editor.
Right.
Well, we know who you just made friends with, because that is
the first thing they cut.
That is, I don't mean
that's a true. That's one side. That's a true statement. So again, a lot of it falls into the economics of indies, and when someone goes in, there's almost this imaginary hierarchy in their head. The first one is the artist. Second one, maybe the colorist, the writer. The letterer is a second thought.
Oh, a letterer.
And then the editor is like a, and the editor should be one of the people who depends on your skill level. I don't like to say, well, get an editor from the beginning. And I don't like to say, well, get an editor in the end. I think you have to kind of build a relationship with your editor so that you know where, because as you American guys would say, you got to let your stuff cook for a bit before you bring the editor in. Right. Because that's why I don't show everyone my work, because too many cooks will spoil the broth. So you got one person says, well, I think that this character should be a female, and this person says, I think this character should be left-handed. I think this character, and then you are slipping away from your vision.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? So you have to find that right person for you. I've heard people tell stories about thinking that the editor was the right person for them, and they didn't see eye to eye. The person had their own politics, views, and they tried to strong hand or embed it into their work. So those are the things that the creators have to kind of think. So they do not, editor falls to the wayside, letterer also. So then you get a really good looking book, and the lettering sucks. You know what I mean? And it pulls you right out of the project.
It's actually right out.
I can't tell you how many times we've read a book that has used agitated text the wrong way, and it's just, you could tell it's like they saw this and it looked cool, but it's like you don't understand the tools that you're doing. Real quick, once again, want to highlight this book.
You believe that that's your book?
But no, because you guys talk about these, but like so he has an artist roundtable in here with this book was written in 2014. It has an artist roundtable, but it also has an editors roundtable in it too, where editors like Sana Amat, and everybody, they're talking about some of the things. And you talked about editors, so you just made friends with Obasi because Obasi loves editors. But one of the things, like you were saying, Alan, like you got to get somebody that works for you. And one of the reasons why I wanted to highlight this book again was because like Sana Amat was talking about like submissions. And she was like, when you submit to an editor, you want to look at the type of books that they've edited. Exactly. It's just like a therapist. There is no one size fits all. And I see a therapist. And one things I learned in therapy is that you can look up their qualifications. So if you're somebody that's suffering from PTSD, and PTSD doesn't always come from combat. There's different types of PTSD. If you are somebody suffering from sexual dysfunction,
trauma,
you can look up and see what these people are trained in. It's the same thing with an editor. And that kind of just wanted to expound on your point. Like I said, I want to,
because it wouldn't make sense going to a person who's ton of their books are horror books, and you're looking to do science fiction and they don't care for it or they don't do it.
The thing is, for me, when we picked our editor, I wanted someone who was going to be honest with me, someone who's experienced, who understood my lore, my story, my vision, and then say, "Hey, Ed, this is your vision." But one of the things that I'm going to always say this, and I've always said this, is I don't believe in yes men.
Right.
Oh yeah.
I do not believe in yes men. I hate yes men because there may be some ideas that I think are great that really actually suck.
Absolutely. That leads into something else. It's not that book, but like if you've ever read Charlemagne the God's Black Privilege,
Right.
he talked about, there's a chapter called Fuck Your Dreams, right?
Okay.
And basically what he was talking about, there was, because if you know anything about Sherman, he started out trying to be a rapper, and he had a mentor that told him, that's not the move for you. Radio work, but he's like, this dude basically said, fuck your dreams. He said, I don't mean that as a means for you to just give up, but you need people to be able to tell you what you're doing. That's not the wave.
Exactly.
And then that leads more into like why I brought up like review, because man, I can't tell you the number of times we'll see somebody give us a review, and we want people to understand. When we read your book, well, I don't want to plug, but we're not just flipping through it.
It's not personal. And here's the thing is, here's the problem. People, when I tell guys who create my book, it's not about Eddie Brown. Okay? I'm creating because I love it. But here's the thing. There's some things that I may think are great or not. And that's why you need to trust people who know what they're doing to help guide you.
Yeah.
And if you're personally just, get upset and you can't take criticism, then you're not going to go far.
No, and it's like, why did you get into this business? Did you, as I've told people, because trust me.
Well, I'll tell you something. Ron, this will answer your question. You asked, why would you get into this business? Some people, and I think it happens to the best of us when we first start, it's a matter of getting the information, learning from your mistakes, and moving forward. So when I see people who are new to writing comic books, you find they do things like, I'm writing a scene, and then they're picking every angle. They're telling you how they want this. They're telling you every minute detail, right? And this is because they don't trust the artist. They want their vision on the page. Where as you become more experienced, you know that if you have a good artist and you're paying a good artist,
right,
why not let him do the work? Exactly. Why not give him the least amount of information so that he has to flex his muscle to produce the best part of stuff, right? And that goes to where it comes to picking. It happens with, so the first time I ever picked a colorist, he asked for a color script, and that was the first time I ever did it, which means I had to go through the entire book again and say what every single person was either wearing, time of day, blah, 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 go through. Now I've dealt with people who are more experienced where I just have to give them the regular comic script, show them if there is colors that, say a guy has a certain uniform, but I trust them to do. Why do I care if the girl in the background eating ice cream has on a pink dress? Pick the best. Color theory. You pick the best colors.
Unless it's important to the story, it don't matter.
Right.
And so I hate to do this. Once again, grab this book, because what you said, I can't help it. Literally, what you said, he talks about your artist isn't an employee. He works with you. He's your partner. And he talks about how he eventually learns to trust his art. He said there's certain things he just leaves completely up to them.
Exactly. And
so to add me to that point. So then if you have a person who's a creative and they come in with that mentality, it means that when they do take a review now, it's gonna hit them harder because they've taken on so much. They've shepherded this baby. Everything is on them. They've picked every color. They've picked every angle. And whereas if you let certain people do stuff, I've produced books where I've sent out the script. And when I got back the pages, I was like, this isn't what I thought it was, but it's better.
Yeah,
and I like it
because because
Exactly.
you the writer. Because I do photography. So artists, graphic designers, photographers, filmographers, they all start the same way. They all start learning POV and things. And so what I'm not gonna grab it again. Y'all go read the damn book. But that's one of the things he's talked about, because he's like, Bendis talks about how he would put things in there and his artist would see it a different way or show him, no, you don't want to do it this way. You want to look at it this way. But I wanted to do this real quick because I want people to understand, like, this is not a comic book. I just wanted to use that as an example. When we review your book, like whether it's me or Boss or anybody else, we're not just flipping through it like this. Like, we have read your book and we will talk about it for 2 or 3 days. Alan can attest, is like, we'll talk like, hey, did you see this? Did you see that? Okay, can you help me better understand why this is happening? So that I know that it's not a mistake, but that it's an actual storytelling mechanism and things like that. So we don't just quickly read your book. It ain't like, okay, we read it in 5 minutes and made a judgment. Nah, we've read it and we've gone over it.
You took notes, you took things, you said, you put something together, said, this is where we came up with, this is where your weaknesses are, this is where this really doesn't make sense. Where are you trying to go here? Yeah. And exactly. And that's why, like, when you brought up editor, that's why I like that, because you want somebody that sees where you're going, that has probably seen it before. Right. And it's like, I can see where this is going. Me and Alan talk all the time, and we'll talk about story, and I'm like, and I understand, I'm just a fan. Alan works in it, Amani teaches it, Obasi's an editor, and we've all read stories, and I've been able to tell them, it's like, I know where this story is going because I've read it before. I've seen a good and bad example. We know where this is going, or I know something that's kind of similar to it. Right. You know what I'm saying? And that's what you want. But I like what you said. It's like, this is a great conversation, because it's like, guys, you got to get out of the echo chamber. There you go. Exactly. I don't believe in hearing my own echoes, because if you believe in hearing your own echoes, you're going to be in trouble. Yeah. I mean, you know, I've always believed in that. I told my artists, and this is something else that something that we were looking at when we created Deathblade. We wanted not so much the words, but we wanted the art. Oh, sorry. I didn't realize it would start playing this shit. My bad. Yeah. Go ahead and continue your thought. We wanted the art to carry the, you know, when people are looking at Deathblade, they're reading it, they understand it. You don't need a word to describe what he or she is doing. You understand it. The words are just there to lead the story, to build the characters. Yeah. That's where we, you know, the foundation of what we're trying to do at Skull Valley Comics. We're trying to create something that you don't need, you know, the thing that I hate about when you're reading certain comics, they got about like a full paragraph of written stuff. Yeah. So see, there are two camps, right? So there are people who prefer to read a lot in a book. I don't. I am from that camp where I believe I should be able to look through your comic book, right, without reading it, exactly, and get the story, and then double back. And not only that, if a book is really, really good and the artwork is amazing, I remember the days when you were excited and you flipped through this book about 3-4 times before you sat and you read it, because this book, you were just looking at this book. You was looking. I know, back in the day for me, it was the Conan magazine size black and white books. The amount of detail. So you're going through the pages and you're looking and you're seeing like, wow, they took enough time to show every single coin of this treasure chest. There's a spider here in the corner. There's, you know what I mean? There's things like that. Yeah. And a lot of things too. If you have a good artist, right, you get rewarded for that because there's detail and little Easter eggs sprinkled throughout the artwork. Exactly. Right? So I was telling someone, I was reading a book. I think it was the last book I kind of reviewed. It was a Western, right? Forgive the noise. Oh, you're forgiven, Alan. If you that ain't that bad. I mean, you know what happened in the last episode. I film in a house. Yeah. I don't got no studio. Yeah. So what I was telling you is, some books start with a massive paragraph,
blah 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 blah. 2 pages, a page of a paragraph, whatever. And I enjoyed the book, and I said I didn't read the paragraph because a comic book should be able to stand on its own. That's what I'm paying for. That's what I wanted. I went in for the comic book. If I wanted to read a book, I would have read a book. Right. So, there's nothing wrong with you deciding if you want to do a whole paragraph to explain everything, but you should be able to tell me that stuff visually, gradually on the page.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
There's a phrase called "Don't say what the art can show."
Right.
I learned that. I learned that. I was in a comic book shop, and I want to give credit to who told me. It's a woman named, I think, Jen King. She's a white lady. She owns a really good comic book shop in Houston, and she's the one that taught me that. She says, "Don't say what the art can show." Like, you don't need to tell me unless it's important. Don't tell me that the plane landed. Your art clearly shows that.
Right.
Those little minute things. Unless it's important, you don't gotta tell me that. Now, I will say to the story, because I'm one of those, I don't know, I'm kind of like a balanced person. So it's like, it depends on the type of story that you're telling, which kind of, for me, determines how much dialogue needs to be there. So it's kind of like certain movies. Certain movies are not action oriented, like 12 Angry Men. There's no real action in that movie. That is a 100% dialogue driven movie. It takes place in one room. And it's 12 Angry Men. It's about jurors, and I believe it's a murder case. The whole thing is about trying to figure out what verdict to get. That's all dialogue driven. And then there's other things where it's like, if you have...
It depends on the genre. It depends on the genre. Clearly, it depends on the genre. It depends. There's so many things. As you get into creating comic books, right? You will realize, okay, so one of them is budget. It's cheaper to put text on a page to help a book along than it is to get artwork. So basically you can change a 40-page book into a 30-page book by putting some paragraphs in there to help push the story forward. So economics is a factor. Is the book educational? Historical books tend to have more text because the comic book part of it is just a medium to put it into a younger audience's hands, but it's really still just a book. So there's a lot of different factors of why. And as Ron said, the genre. So if I'm going to do a drama or something, it's going to have more. But at the same time, if I decide to do a drama within a comic book, I still have to make the artwork interesting. I still have to do certain things to make you either feel the elements of the court. I have to do different tricks. I have to do certain things. You know what I mean? I could do something where, I could do 9 pages with a guy tapping his finger on a table and then have a dialogue, which will kind of sell the monotony of the situation. There's things that you have to do rather than just have heads talking. You know what I mean? You got to kind of make this thing interesting to read still with the artwork.
Well,
go ahead, Edward.
Well, one of the things that we have, the type of people that I look to, who I look for us to work with, I look for my writer to be a storyteller because he is a storyteller.
Yeah.
He has to be able to comprehend and articulate what we're trying to do. And one of the things for that, which you probably pull out of that book, is I'm not looking for artists who want to get paid. I'm looking for artists who genuinely loves what they do.
Yeah, I really am trying not to pull that book.
Who sees the vision of what I'm trying to do. Because I've interviewed a lot of guys. It's like, well, Ed, money and all this. I stay away from those guys because they just see me as a commodity. They don't see me as someone who's really trying to build something solid, a vision of capturing people in the same way as ESK, who did our lettering for us. He understands exactly not to overuse words, but how to use the words, what to use in the context. And then using with our editor that we use, Chuck Pinwall, we used him as our editor. So being able to combine all that into that team, we're all creatives. We're all making adjustments. So being able to have that, and I think that's that's important. That's when you have a good team, you want to tend to stay with that team and build from there.
Yeah. Now I have known in the past, I believe it was it Alan Moore or Grant Morrison. It used to be exception. Like I've heard stories like people would get a script and it would be, really thin, but then there'd be this supplementary material. And I can't remember if it was Alan Moore or Grant Morrison. It was one of the two, and it would be this thick. I think it was Alan Moore because he wanted it like really detailed or something like that. But there was a reason for that. I'm a firm believer. My favorite quote of all time is Pablo Picasso. Learn the rules like a pro so you can break them like an artist.
Exactly.
What that means is learn what you're doing so that when you break it, you understand why you're doing it. But plus, learn the rules so that you understand the tools that you're using. That's why I brought up like agitated lettering. There's a reason you use it. And we've seen people just use it, and it's just like, that's doing too much. That is doing way too much, But
I want to ask a question. So, I mean, you said I got written down here to ask you because I find it very interesting. So, you mentioned you have a writer. So, you can explain how your team is, because do you write? Is it your story?
Yes.
How do you because you have a writer, you have an editor. Break down some of the process of
I can tell
your book.
I am the creator, and then my co-writer, my co-creator is Philip Matz. When we created, we went together, we wrote exactly what we wanted for Deathblade. We put together, it was like for each character for Deathblade, we drew from the beginning to his end. We know exactly what's going to happen within that book. So for every character that we develop a storyline for each and every one of them. Mm-hmm. And we drew the story, we drew the foundation of how that story was going to begin. And then once we did that, which people think is crazy. Hey, I'm an IT guy, so I'm very detail oriented. So forgive me. When we handed our writer our full Deathblade for issue 1, it was over 300 plus pages.
For a 25 to 30 page comic book.
Yes.
So you handed this man 2.5 whole graphic novels?
No, we handled him for issue 1.
He said for issue 1, 300 pages.
Yeah, no. But what I'm saying is the average graphic novel contains 6 issues, which is about 128 pages.
Right.
I was just making a joke. Like, you handed the man essentially 2.5 graphic novels.
Yes, we did.
One issue.
And then on top of that, you see, this is how our team works. Our team works kind of different. We kind of worked it away. We said, look, this is what we're kind of expecting for issue 1 and how it lays out. We put out what we call an outline. Put, outline buttons of key things of how we want the book to be. And he draws, he writes it, and then we go over, we look at it. All Phil, me, and the writer, we sit down, and then we had a developer, his name is Emmanuel, who helped us develop in small details and small things that we were missing that we needed. So we had a team of 5, and we go over it, we review it. We just don't let him write it and then send it to the editor. No, we look at it and we make sure that how we were envisioning it and how we go over it.
Kind of almost like a line editor, where it's like, because so people don't realize, like in comics, like you have the editor of your, and you have a line editor, because that person is control of like all the Spider-Man books. And so you write a Spider-Man story, it still has to fit within the greater mythos of Spider-Man. You can't just create a spider character that shoots pencils for instead of webs or some shit like that.
Exactly,
like,
right.
You have somebody who's in charge of that line, and that's their job. And that kind of sounds like what you got going right there.
Yeah, that's exactly what we did. We drew that line and we kind of perfected it to the point to where it just became just natural. And it's crazy because Philip and myself, we could be Philip, well, we use a management tool called Timu, which is, if you're familiar with Teams and stuff, this one, we have documents. It stores documents. We can do chats. It's like a project management tool. So we use a project management type of software and developed it for Skull Valley and how we develop our stories and how we have things logged in, like chats and stuff like that. So when we send something, he sends something into Timu, says, hey guys, here's the outline. We both look at it and we're like, okay, cool. And we send it back. It's a science of how we did it. And then of course, when our editor gets it, the thing about us, which I really like about our team and even our editor that we like about it, we're going to always shoot holes in our story. We're going to see if there's something's missing, or there may be some things we do to leave a hole, and it's for a reason.
You want to leave yourself away. A lot of what you're describing, and I want people to kind of say, if you've ever studied like television production, there's a writer's room, and
Right.
There's a showrunner, and any given show has like 3 to 4 writers. And one thing, like, oh my God, what's her name? Nancy Cartwright. Nancy Cartwright is the voice of Bart Simpson. If you've ever read her autobiography or listened to the audiobook of it, one of the things she tells you is like the experience she had when she wrote her first script for The Simpsons. Mind you, she had did this voice for like 10 years. And one of the things she tells you, no script goes unchanged. You still get credit for it, but she's like, I've had scripts that were partially rewritten by other writers or other actors. No script goes unchanged because somebody may see something you missed. And what and you have the showrunner to make sure that it fits into the greater ethos of the show. A lot of people don't realize that a lot of shows have what's called a showrunner's Bible, especially when shows get so big. It's like you have to have something almost from 21 Jump to make sure that you are still fitting within your own ethos.
There you go. That's our philosophy at Skull Valley. That's what we used. That's what we're doing today.
Yeah,
you know what?
Go ahead,
good.
Alan. No, so that sounds good. I always wanted to do that. I've dabbled with team project software and stuff, but a lot of what you said usually just falls to me at this point. So, it's just like a lot of it is the conversations with yourself. It's a good thing to what you said,
you guys. It's amazing. It's TIMU. It's a system it was a free system. Software, and now we pay for services for certain things that we have. And also what I like about it is when we have our meetings, like our teams, we record our meetings. So there may be certain things that we said that we totally forgot, and we just tell them, hey, check out the recording what we said.
Yeah.
That's some crazy stuff. I mean, I don't know if you guys think like them are crazy, but that's how we actually process. And
question.
Our meetings are supposed to be like 30 minutes. Our meetings can go as high as up to 2 or 3 hours.
Yeah. Question. Everyone in the team is basically in continental USA? No.
I have, believe it or not, my artists are in Nigeria. The writer, our new writer, is in Nigeria. Daniel's in Nigeria. We have our team over in London. We have our guys over here in the US.
That's nice.
And we use Team.
So I'm so glad you said that because, see, I'm continental US and my partner, Alan, is in Barbados.
There you go.
Speaking of time, you know how you said, your meeting's supposed to be 30 minutes and they've gone on for 3 hours. We've actually been going for 59 minutes and have kind of talked Deathblade. and actually, all we really did was extend my opening monologue, which was only supposed to be like 5 minutes, and it's been 59 minutes. But this is what happens when Black folks talk. So I'm actually going to play this video here. Hopefully this shit come out good. Yeah. And then we're going to get into Deathblade.
All right.
Let's do it. First time we've ever had video on the show. All right. Yeah. So I'm gonna just read off some of my first impressions. Let
him give the synopsis of what Deathblade is.
Yeah.
Give us a short synopsis of what Deathblade is.
Okay. Deathblade, the synopsis of it's a story of a man by the name of Ambrose. He goes on a ops mission and he ends up losing all of his men. He becomes the lone survivor. And as you know, going through PTSD, going through Survivor, whatever, he's just totally messed up. He's trying to figure out what happened. So as he digs deeper into finding out what happened to his men, he finds out that he's ended up in a secret society that has spilled out into the real world, where he's meeting dark villains, vicious villains who are looking to take over the world. And then he also finds out there's something else in him that he doesn't even know.
Okay. Because when I remember reading, I was like, kind of got a little bit of a little reminiscent of Spawn there, but just little tinges there, but not everything.
We wanted to capture your attention, but like you said, you felt Spawn, but then you felt something else.
Yeah.
And so we wanted to bridge off into that, and we really worked hard at that, to really build that story and to actually build that journey.
Yeah. I mean, there's very few things that are ever created in a vacuum. Everything has some influence.
Right.
But I think there's a difference between influence and then just making your version of this. Like we mentioned earlier, Black Panther is like, okay, you created this character and all you did was literally create your version of Black Panther because you wanted to make a Black Panther and put in everything in it you wanted to see. You didn't really make it your own. You just made your black version or your white version, whatever, your carbon copy of that. You know what I'm saying? So it's like you got to learn to take, not you, but I mean, some people got to learn to take influence and then make it their own.
Exactly.
And then I'll ask this question, and this one is not a big deal for me, but I was just interested because a lot of times, Black Indies, people want to make Black characters, talk Black stories. Why not use Black characters for Deathblade? Or are they Black? They just light skinned. They got that El DeBarge thing going.
Yes, and I was about to answer that question. Ambrose is Black. Ambrose is his family hails from France. They're Moors.
Okay.
Okay. His wife is she is half Asian and half European.
Okay.
Okay. So yeah, I know a lot of people look at that, and that's something that we did talk about during our meeting. We want to be a little bit more intentional in a lot of things that we probably didn't do as good as that. We're definitely for issue 2, or definitely you guys are definitely going to see the elevation.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, it's not a big deal for me.
I want to ask a question. I want to ask a question about that. So we usually get, as creators and in space, and we usually get people talking about diversity, and people ask questions and say, well, diverse cast, right? And you, as you said, you pick these very distinct backgrounds for these characters.
Yes.
Right. And so how does it, for me, I have no problem with that, but it has to come up in the story and play a part. So what part does that play in your story?
I'm glad you brought that up. Within the story, you're going to see, like for his wife, you're going to definitely see her history, her being of who she is and what she is about.
Okay.
You're going to see both sides, her European and her Asian side. That's all I can say. I don't want to give out spoilers.
Okay. Well, you don't want to spoil anything. That's something that people will talk about. Say, well, you want to make this character this, but it doesn't really play into the story.
Yes. This is going to play into the story. You guys.
What was the point of it? You know what I mean?
Yeah. It's going to play into the story. The Moors, for the Canes, and the Canes are unique. Okay. And that story, to be truth be told, that story would be a little bit more told in we don't have enough time in Deathblade to really hit you with a lot of things on that. With the new IP that we got coming out called Blood Wars, which actually talks a little bit more about the villains, the pact, and why these villains are who they are, and why the Canes are important. We're able to tell you that story a little bit more about the Canes, the families in France, how that happens, and so forth. This, is the beginning of Deathblade issue 1, where you see them going into this tomb. They're thinking they're dealing with a resurgence. Then they, as you can see, they're hearing something. They're not sure what's going on, some chanting, whatever. But this is what I like about Yusuf. You're looking at the green. You're looking at, these guys got infrared on, and you're looking how he actually drew how these guys would actually be looking if you were there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And that was really powerful for me, because I was like, I could actually understand. It's like, yeah, these guys are okay. This is nice.
Yeah. People I think sometimes people underestimate the attention to detail. Like, I never forget, I won't use comics. Like, so when James Cameron remastered Titanic, right?
Mm-hmm.
People pointed out, stargazers pointed out, they were like, the star formation that you see in the sky shouldn't be random. We know that day specifically, because stargazing is very specific. At that time, this is what they should be seeing. And he went back in and corrected. People don't kind of get those minute details. That stuff. I remember Alan, it was some book we were reading, and we were talking about snipers. And we were talking about, like, well, why didn't they go for a headshot? And Alan was like, no, that's not what snipers would do. Snipers are taught to shoot center mass. It's a wider target.
Right.
But your perception would be, well, just put a bullet in their head from a distance. Like, no, you would shoot for the heart. You would shoot for the lungs, because you're guaranteed to put them down.
Right. Right. And that's, Aline, Leggett, and Yusuf and their team, the art team, they really, when we gave them the script, they understood the assignment. Yeah. They went in and they really, like you said, the details, the military gear. So when you're reading this book, you don't have to read words. Something's about to go down.
Yeah. I also liked how later on, I think somebody asked, I think Ambrose, like, how he's doing. And he was like, 5 by 5, and then used actual editor's notes the way they're supposed to be to explain this is military jargon.
Exactly.
Like that.
Something about this page, which I kind of like too, is like, it's clean. There's sometimes you will find a case where a writer thinks a clean page with no dialogue, he needs to put something on it.
Right.
He needs to put, and that's something you have to have a lot of self-control. Whereas to say, well, yeah, I don't need to put dialogue on this page. This page works.
The thing is, we were trying to set the environment. Like, when a reader is reading it and they're looking at it, we want to bring you into that world. We don't want, like you said, sometimes words can distract. So you want to be able to bring you in. You're like, okay, cool. We got you now. You see the green screen. You're like, okay, we got you. And then the story itself flows.
It's like being in a conversation and learning when you're done speaking, just to stop. You don't have to say, you feel me? Like, as it's because I saw this clip. I didn't watch the whole thing, but I understood from the clip. It's like being okay with just stopping right there.
Yes.
Yeah.
One of the other things, I wish I had one of the pages that I tried to screenshot to put in here. It was a violent page. We didn't. For obvious reasons, can't show the racier pages.
You mean the one with him?
It was just a page that happened after this, where they're getting merciful.
Oh yeah, the headshot.
Yeah, it was a violent page, and the only reason why I was going to show is because one thing I liked about the book was that it leans into its premise. Like, it doesn't pretend not to be a violent book, and something me and Alan have talked about a while ago. It's like, and this is probably just more so dependent upon where you are in the world, but it's like in the U.S., violence is okay. sex is bad. Whereas other places, it's like, this is okay. This might not be as okay, you know.
Right.
Yeah.
And
So as he said, you linked into the premise. The book is an adult book. It doesn't. You take the freedom of being an adult book to tell the story that you want.
Right.
Whereas I find that some people will do a book and say, yeah, this is a 18 plus, or this is an adult book, but then they still kind of they say a few cuss words and that's it.
Risky, right? There's risky stuff in there. Yeah, I totally agree.
Right.
It's actually we actually have an episode kind of planned around this, just to kind of like a hint. So it's like saying the word nigga. It's like, oh, I won't say that word, but you have your own adjacent word that still basically means the same thing in the same context. It's like, if you're gonna do that, you might as well have just said this. Right. And so that's that kind of lean, that's just something we've been thinking about, you know. Like, well,
you know, there were some things that, like I was telling one of the writers, you know, my father being a pastor, a Seventh-day Adventist pastor, and me being a pastor's kid, you know, believe me, I get hit every day. My dad someone sent him something saying, you let your son write this book. My dad went up there and said, there's nothing wrong with his book. His book is fine. He wrote it in the context of what it's supposed to be.
Yeah. That's something that
issues on that.
That's something that people do not understand. And it's something that, because you said you were a 90s kid. Mm-hmm. One of the things that was different about the media and the movies, the comics, the everything, was villains got to be villains. Mm-hmm. Villains got to be bad guys.
Right.
Because they were bad. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. I find that one of the things that we face writing is, how far can we push the line with showing something? Because you are showing it to set up something. As you said, there's nothing wrong with the book. That's the world of the book. You can't be dealing with drug addiction and not show people struggle on drugs. Yeah. You know what I mean? So is this thing that you have to kind of keep dodging and stuff? But it also brings me to my next question, which you kind of not answered, but you kind of like piqued my interest. I was going to ask you, where did you come up with the mythology around the spirituality of these? I don't know quite yet what it is, because the story in issue 1, we're teased with a lot of it, but we're not told. But we do know that it's something spiritual, something demonic, something that kind of. But so, how did you come up around that idea and that concept, and why? Yeah, why do that one?
My father being a pastor, one day I was little and he went to a house and this lady, somehow demon got into her, and my father was praying, and I was a little kid and I was there and I saw a lot of that stuff. And it really is kind of, any person sees that, your hair, my head's standing straight up right now. I can actually see it right now. So a lot of that from a spiritual side, the mythology of what I came up with, you have this demon that's telling you, it gets into you mentally, physically, and psychologically. So a lot of that is from my Christianity type of appeal, is where a lot of that is coming from.
So it kind of gets into you, kind of like was it that Sandra Bullock movie? Was it Bird Box?
Yes.
Yeah. So, oh, goodness.
That's where a lot of it came into, and then of course, the nudity part. A lot of people felt that we didn't advertise it. They were surprised when they saw it. They was like, "You didn't advertise it," and I told them that there was no need to advertise that because it was love between a husband and a wife, but that's not the story.
Right. I don't think you was this a case where they said you didn't advertise it because they wanted the warning, or they thought that if you marketed it around the nudity, it would have sold better?
Well, I think a combination of both. And at that time, like I said, this was our first. This is my first book coming out. Yeah, I probably would have did it, but I don't think that's what I was trying to relay. And I think eventually people realize, and they got it. Hey, look, this is a couple. They're really into each other. She's really supporting him. And that was the buy-in. That was the relationship. So that you guys say, hey, this character, yeah, he's gone through this, but you see his wife supporting him. She's trying to help him cope, whatever she can, so that to help him recover and heal. So,
yeah, I saw that, and then I was just also like, they grown.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, they grown. Like, if I won't go into a lot of details, but it's like I said, it's an adult book.
Right.
Like, I don't understand how unless you just don't want it, but how do you have a married couple in the bed and they not doing something? Like, it's your choice. You don't have to censor yourself. I mean, it's all about how much you want to show. But like, I just realized, like, they grown. They doing what grown folks do.
Right. Exactly. And then exactly.
But then also too, as you just said, Edward, it was to help build character and to establish a relationship. It wasn't done for shock value.
Right.
You see, so one of the things is a lot of things when we produce books and stuff, I tell people you have story, but you have to use, in my books and in all books, you got to use action, sex, whatever, as the things to add the, let's say, the icing on top.
Right.
Because these are the things to be the shocking moments, you see, because you need to have a balance. A book can't be just all talking.
Mm-hmm.
If you're doing just a general comic book, it can't be just all violence, and it just can't be all nudity. You know what I mean? You need to do a balance if you trying to get a reader to portray a good story. Trying to get a good story over. So I don't think it was done poorly. It helped sell the relationship, as you said.
Yeah, it did.
It made us, when we were in the room, it made us talk. This was one of the things that we kind of discussed a lot.
Mm-hmm.
The guys said they liked it. They liked the relationship. Ron said he liked the dialogue and the banter between it. And the other thing too, what you did, which was interesting, was you find sometimes in a book like this, they kind of made the female a bit sinister, but she was actually not. She was a good. She came off as a good character. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And I kind of like that, because there's a part later on when someone comes in afterwards and he's kind of hitting on her and stuff.
That's the next page of the show.
And she kind of rebuffs him. So it helps show the character and it helps develop who the character is. So it's just not this crazy person kind of thing. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
I believe like your action, like he said, action, sex, and violence, it has to match like the tone of the book. Like if you have one of those crazy frenetic books, then you could just throw all that in there, but you're also throwing it in there to match it. And I just thought that it was done well. This is actually one of those pages. Like I said, I enjoyed the banter. You really can't see it here, but when you guys pick up the book and read it, I loved this right here. And I actually like the page before it too. And then let's see here. This is it doesn't have the dialogue on it. Well, y'all can read it. I think it's actually the next page, because he basically says like, are you single? And she's like, still married, And I was like, that was dope. That was something we don't really see that often, but that dialogue worked well. And when you see that scene from beginning to end, from when they're in the bedroom to here, you guys, when you read it, you'll understand what we're talking about. So,
right. And to kind of add on to that a little bit, someone asked me this, and I know this is kind of crazy. Someone says, would you have shown them having sex if they were a boyfriend and girlfriend? And I said no, I wouldn't have done it.
Interesting. Why not?
Because they're not married.
Hmm.
And then number two, the intimacy of a married couple where they're engaged into each other, they're committed to each other, is different than a boyfriend and a girlfriend.
And see, this is where you
I can actually understand where you're coming from. I could get where you're coming from.
Yeah.
And
I can too.
Yeah,
I can too.
And as I said, this is. I know you talk wrong, but this is where, as I said, people, when it comes to indie books, that is the beauty of it, where you, as a creator, have the choice to do what you want,
Right.
and it's your, you know what I mean. And there's no wrong or right in a situation like that. You know what I mean? It's like, yeah, that's what I choose to do. And this is how I would have done it, or this is, and you know, that's it. There's nothing. So these are things these are the choices as creators that we have to make, depending on what we want to portray.
Yeah. It's. I mean, being a pastor's kid and then going, telling your mother and your dad, "Hey, Dad, I'm on the fence, but I'm gonna go over the fence."
Mm-hmm.
That was tough for me. That was tough for me. But if you ask me again, would I do it again? Yeah, I'll do it again. I'll go over the fence.
Yeah. Not like Alan said, there's really not much more I can expound on that. I mean, he's right. It's your choice. And it's gonna be based kind of like on how you see things. Like you said, you're a pastor's kid, so marriage has a high value.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean, because like when I'm thinking, like, you have people that are in committed relationships that do not want to be married, you know, and so, and you have because you have loving couples that are boyfriend and girlfriend. Maybe they just haven't gotten married yet, you know what I'm saying? But you know, like, so there's nothing wrong. You got a more traditional view where it's like, I wanted them to be married, and you see that. But then you can also have somebody like maybe me or Alan that's like, you know, if they're boyfriend and girlfriend, because there's different levels of commitment. If they're really serious, why not? And then also, once again, going back to leaning into your premise, this is a grown-up world. Mm-hmm. People do have casual sex as long as it's part of the story, or you know what type of genre you're doing.
Right. Like if it's part of the story, it has to be part of the story. I'm not going to just put sex in there and it means nothing.
Yeah. Well, that's what I was gonna say. Like, then it depends. Like, if you're doing like an adult book, let's say like like a porn, like not adult book like your book that has like violence in it, but like an actual like, you know, 18 plus, like adult.
We call it, Kevin call it TNA. You see a lot of on Kickstarter.
Or like a book. Then it makes sense, because then you could just do whatever, because that is your main selling point, you know. But in a more traditional, I'll say this, a more traditional adult oriented comic, which is just violence and whatnot, you lean into your premise. Like, you don't hide from the fact that people have sex. They say curse words, because if I could show a headshot and blood and gore and guts, then you shouldn't be upset about this. And then it's like you said, it's a part, if it's a story, and then who does it is going to be dependent upon your preference. You know what I'm saying? Like, if you've got a book that takes place in like Slum Alley or like in some cyberpunk world, like Alan's book, sometimes you're going to see that. It's like, how do you not? Because that's part of the theme of cyberpunk. It's highlights, low life. You know what I'm saying? And you just got to be expecting it. You can't be clutching your pearls. Know the type of book that you're picking up. You know, or at least once you're aware of the type of book that you're picking up, you know, go from there.
Exactly.
You know, I wouldn't pick up like a horror book about Jason Voorhees and not expect to see, I don't know, blonde teenage white girls getting sliced up by the lake or the river or wherever the first three movies happened.
Right.
You know, except that third movie, because I think he might have been a little racist. If you ever watched the third one, brother came into that barn trying to save it, and I guess Jason realized, he's like, I don't get Negro that often, so I better savor this. And he's full range of motion. Like, that's some bullshit. Everybody else get a slash or two. He's like, nope, I don't get niggas that often.
He's black. I'm gonna get my.
I have to savor this. There's prime cut. But anyway, man, this has been fun. This has been like an hour, 24 minutes, man. We don't want to hold you much longer.
Yeah, we're good. You know,
and I don't have anything else. I done went through all my notes.
Well, you were saying, I think we was talking about this off camera before. Just as we wrapping up, tell us about the future and what you have planned. You were talking about book 2, book 3. You mentioned a spin-off.
Yeah.
Tell us what's in the works for Deathblade.
Well, our first Kickstarter year was actually supposed to be in April, but with our system crashing and we thought we lost everything, we had to push everything up. Our first Kickstarter year is June this year, and not only are we opening up with Deathblade issue 2, but we've added Deathblade issue 3 because a lot of people were saying 32 pages wasn't enough for them. They wanted more. So we're going to give you issues 2, issues 3, and I'm just going to tell you it's going to continuation from issue 1, and it's going to build up. The universe is going to open up a little bit. You're going to see a lot of things explained. Like I know Abasi was talking about the first 5 pages. He didn't understand it. There was a madness to my science. He is going to understand what those first 5 pages are.
So you're gonna have in your future books, you're gonna have callbacks to those, because I think that was one of the things we were like, these early pages, we see something, and then we were like, okay, where does he come back around to this in this book?
Yes.
Okay.
So we set some things up that you're definitely going to see. And then some of you are probably thinking something, say, hey, this is what it is. It may and it may not be. That's all I could say.
That's all you said. We'll see when we get to it.
It may not be what it say, but issues 2, issues 3, and then of course we're coming out with a new IP to further explain the secret society, the pact, the vampires, the different factions, the Jumos. You guys, well, not so much the Jumos, but more of the Canes and the villains that you will be seeing in Deathblade will be further explained. And we're really excited about this because it's going to tell further about the Canes. You know, this takes place in France during World War II. Mm-hmm. And you're going to understand why these factions work the way they work. And you're going to understand why they can't do certain things.
Quick question. Something that's just been on my mind. How many issues of Deathblade do you have out currently?
This is the first one of Deathblade.
Okay. Because some of the things you've mentioned, I'm like, because I don't believe they were mentioned in this issue. So maybe I'm wrong, because I did reread it last night, but I was wondering, like, okay, well, are these things mentioned in issue 2? Alan, did you see those?
Yeah, I did see those.
No, so he's talking about these are the events that are to come. These are not that. No, so these are for book 2.
These are events to come. These are events that are coming.
Yeah, because you're talking like vampires. But I'm like, I don't remember seeing it because
I kind of gave you a spoiler there. So
he gave us. I noticed he did, but I didn't say anything. But
I didn't say anything either because I'm like,
but you did in the end. But I did notice he did.
Yeah, I was
like,
that's okay. Hey, you guys get the spoiler out of me. But that's.
Yeah, because because when he mentioned it earlier, I'm like, I reread this story last night to refresh my memory, and I'm like,
if you look at it,
that shit was in there yet?
No, but see, here's the thing.
He got a director's cut.
Secret things that we did that you wouldn't even know. There's the beauty about this book, issue 1, is you can't just read that book once. You got to read it several times because there's things that you think you know, and then you read it again, be like, oh, that's not what they meant. Oh, this is what they meant. And there may be certain things in there that we set up in there that we just laid a goose egg.
Okay.
You may miss it. And then we get it in issue 2 to be like, wait a minute. Okay, I see where they went.
That's very much so possible. That is
so
very much so possible.
I'm telling you, I'm giving you guys the spoilers right here.
Okay.
We set you up. And I tell someone, someone told me something, and I told her, I said, hey, okay, if you think that's great, then okay, then that's what it is. And then she said, Ed, are you lying to me? I was like, yeah, I could be and I couldn't be.
That's how you want it. That's how you want to do it, because you can always, and I've seen, this is where I say, like, you can kind of see where something's going. There's been plenty of stories where it's like something was minute in one issue, Then you get to because the average story arc is 6 issues traditionally. Issue 6, you start to see all these flashbacks. Here's all those little things that you didn't take for granted. Case in point, like the usual suspects, right? Kevin Spacey sitting there talking, and all that stuff he's talking about is one big ass lie. It's not to the end of the movie where you see he pulled everything from the corkboard behind the guy, you know. But and then before he's revealed, spoiler alert, because the movie's like 30 years old, he's Kaiser Soze. It's like you start to see
exactly, yes,
you know, those types of things, and so
that's exactly kind of how we kind of used a little bit of that, you know. We wanted to build that suspense. We wanted you to be at the edge of your seat, so you're reading it, and then you're, you know, at the end, no one saw what would happen at the end, you know. End of issue 1, click, buy the book. Issue 1, you know, he's going up there and he's following these, you know, these clues, and then he goes and then he finds out, you know, you go looking for something,
you might find it.
What you think, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, it was
so
some
other question.
Go ahead, Al.
Is there anything else to your story? I was going to ask him about Kickstarter in terms of how has it been funding for you on Kickstarter, and do you use it? Is it a marketing tool, or is it a major resource in terms of getting funds?
It's, I would say, the books that we have, you know, the book that we did, you know, we pay for it.
Right.
You know, our thing is dealing with printing and helping us get it printed out and stuff like that. That's where we kind of use it for, and marketing as well. And like we said, Deathblade is not going to always be on Kickstarter. Our goal is to gradually build our fan base and eventually leave off Kickstarter. I mean, now you see Marvel and everyone else trying to do, which I think, you know, I think they were talking about Transformers or something. Someone broke a record on Kickstarter or something.
So that's not actually Marvel. So
I mean, not Marvel, but you understand.
So what Robert Kirkman did was Transformers, all of the old Transformers comics, it's like 2 volumes were done on Kickstarter. So when you get it and you look at the Kickstarter, you won't see the Marvel logo on any, because you know it has all the, you won't see the Marvel logo, and you're not going to see it in the book. But I remember because this is something.
But question, Ron, is the old Marvel comics?
Yeah, and it's
gotcha.
old Marvel comics and the British ones too. So it's Marvel and Marvel UK.
I mean, I got it. I did pledge for that. And I'm excited. I'm expecting
it was funded 4,600%.
Yeah. Which I mean, come on. Someone asked me this question: should books that already have fan bases be on Kickstarter? And I said, look, everyone knows Transformers. Okay. Let's just keep it real. Do they really need to be on Kickstarter?
But I will argue something for you, which is, I'll argue this. No, this is different. So people will say no. In the case, the reason why I do not kick up a fuss when big IPs go to Kickstarter, let's say Keanu Reeves, Brandon Sanderson, whoever. I don't great.
That is one.
Wesley Snipes, whoever. The reason why I do not create a fuss for these things is because this is truly a time where you can argue the case of a rising tide raises all boats. Because what it is doing is bringing people to the Kickstarter platform who probably would have never gone there.
That's true.
And when you go there, if the algorithm gods are on your side, your book may pop up in their face.
Exactly.
Or they may say, well, hey, I'm here. Let me see what other comic books are here. Which is a lot different from saying, let me see what unique, small niche of a niche book is here. Because you know me, when you're on Kickstarter, you're just another indie comic book.
Right.
So we're all just comic books. So that's where I don't see it as a problem. And then it all boils down to this. Though when it comes to these things, people who came there with a direct interest just to buy X property, they're gonna just buy X property.
Right.
Those who came and they now see and they want to spend money because it's a platform for spending money, they're going to spend money on something else. So, so I kind of don't have an issue with those guys because, like, you know, that Transformer money. It's not like when the Transformers Kickstarter wasn't there. That's they're taking bread out of my mouth. I wasn't gonna get that fucking money.
It's just, you know, my thing is they're making a big thing out of it. And I was like, we all know that. Now, big thing is when you're looking at Stranger Comics, what he did, you know, his thing.
Yeah.
You know, blowing up, you know, or you look at, like he was talking to Ron, you said, what's the guy? Cohen's coming out with his, you know, that's stuff that I get excited about because that's new stuff that I haven't seen. That's original work that I definitely, and I have to admit, Kickstarter has done an excellent job. You know, you got others like Indiegogo, Zoop, and all, you know, all the other Kickstarters. Platforms, but Kickstarter is the king right now. But you know, one of the things that I think that is important for us, being our first time on, we were chosen as projects we love, which totally shocked me because I did not expect that at all. You know, being, you know, we were kind of shocked that, you know, Kickstarter took a liking to us and they liked us. And they already asked us, you know, when you guys can watch our second one, it's coming, folks. All I can tell you is fire. That's all I'm trying to tell you. And then Blood Wars with my boy Juan Cansada from Metallica, Evil Dead. Now, you guys thought that was a lot of gore.
So, question. So the next Deathblade is 2 books, 1 Kickstarter, and then Blood Wars is another Kickstarter coming later on.
They're putting them all together. They're
all together.
All together. Looking at it. 128 new pages.
Okay, that's okay.
128 pages of just pure unadulterated.
Okay, well, that's great. Hopefully, maybe we could come back on closer. We could probably do a short episode. You know, big up this stuff.
I'd like to share the new stuff that we have with you.
Okay, cool,
I would actually like to have you back because the benefit to having Alan, because a lot of people, you could ignore me. Like so let's be realistic. I'm a fan, right? You can ignore me, but Alan adds a certain bit of weight to it because he works in there in the field and he has a lot of knowledge. Which I was telling somebody, Alan has a lot of knowledge, and it's like it's a shame people don't seek out his help more, you know, and also help him. It kind of reminds me of like Tyler Perry, where somebody was talking about him. He's like, Tyler Perry has a lot of knowledge, but people don't ask him about it. And he's like, he's willing to share, but people don't want to talk to him about it.
Well, you know, I'm glad you said that. I mean, I love Tyler Perry. I mean, part of our other side of our house, we have a production house where we do films and stuff.
Okay.
And then, you know, before I did my comic book, I was working with Comic Republic out of Nigeria. We were working to get them a TV deal. If you're familiar with Comic Republic, they're like the top comic book. They are the comic book in Africa. They were signed by us. I signed them out of San Diego Comic-Con when they blew up. I was in the process of doing my own comic book. I saw Martin and them, and I said, no, man, you guys are incredible, whatever. We were working with them, and eventually, you know, they got their deals. They're doing what they need to do. And then I realized, I said, hey, man, while I'm busy running these guys, I can tell stories too. And then jetting off, and we started Skull Valley Comics. But yeah, I believe that as creators, we need to help each other, Alan. And some of that, I realize you have haters who don't even know you. They just hate you because, you know, and you're kind of like, dude, I'm a cool guy. I'm not a bad guy, you know? And like, you know, I'll try to help as many people as I possibly can, you know? But, you know, I don't let that get me down at the end of the day, because I'm a fan of comics. I love comics. I love any good book that's good. It doesn't have to be from Skull Valley, because you have some people, they, you know, if you're not part of their clique or their crew, you ain't getting you ain't getting in.
Yeah. And then the problem I had with that is that they say, oh, well, we're a community. And I tell people, like, like you take Secret Society. It's okay for you to be a member of Secret Society and be a member of Black Indie Comics, be a member of Black Comic Lords and all that fun stuff. Mm-hmm. But what I was gonna say, because you actually that was some real good bonus stuff for me. I was gonna say I want to bring you back because Alan has a lot of knowledge, and that show I did, he was talking about like breaking down, like the business economics side of it, and this is where I was getting at. Like I'm a fan, so I don't mind learning about this type of stuff. You know what I'm saying? And like I said, I don't want to point to, but a lot of reason why I showcased that book is because one of the personal things I said is that I want to be able to. He said, y'all don't offer no solutions and all this other shit. Well, here's a book you can read. It's been out since 2014 that can be a resource, especially if you want to submit to Marvel or DC. Like one of the things I learned in that book was if you submit to them, you cannot submit to them using a story with their characters in it because they legally cannot look at it.
Correct.
You know what I'm saying? And little stuff like that. And so I'll not even just to bring you back to talk about Deathblade, but maybe get some other people. Like I said, I'm just a fan, but it'll be interesting to see you all talk about the nuances and whatnot of actually setting up the Kickstarter and all that other stuff, the financials that go into it. But one thing I like that you said was you got to have you got to be able to take critique and criticism. And it happens. And that was one of the problems people had with me. Because I'm looking at it as a fan. I'm like, if you say that your book is a suitable alternative to Marvel and DC, and then I read it and I'm like, okay, well, if you say this, I'm going to hold you to that standard. And then it becomes, well, you got to give us grace and mercy. But you sitting here saying this. And it's like,
I totally agree with you. I totally agree with you. That was one of the reasons. That's one of the reasons that you asked me a question when I had to let that writer go. It wasn't about how I felt. It's about the book.
Yeah.
Always be about the book. Has nothing to do with E.A. Brown.
Bro,
I realized that. I realized that from the beginning. I mean, the team that I brought, I mean, I paid dollars for those guys to create something that, you know, for it to come to fruition, I'm still amazed.
Yeah. And it's just, and it was just, and I remember when I made that post, and it's like, it's not coming from a hurtful, hateful place, but it's one of those things. If you say you number one, you got to be willing to hold, you got to be held to the standards. You can't get you can't get the praise. You want the praise on it, but you don't want what else comes with that. And then people go into, because for some reason, well, a lot of times Marvel and DC catch strays in this. It's like, well, y'all don't do Marvel and DC like that. Bullshit. There's whole Reddit threads dedicated to shitting on Marvel and DC. Get the fuck out of here. What the hell you talking about? It's whole ass Reddit threads. It's for Critical Drinker damn near exists to shit on them. He hates them people. At times. I don't know recently, but I
totally agree.
They get it all the time. The difference is that there's layers removed between you and the average fan. Like you can go, and I made a point to say, it's like you can go to Dan Slott's Twitter. Dan Slott is on a it's Marvel. It's not Marvel Behind the Mask. It's another show that they did. I think Marvel 616, and they talked to Dan Slott. He basically said he got death threats when he killed Peter Parker. You a black indie. You ain't getting death threats because I said your book is bad. I just said it's bad. And you ain't getting no goddamn death threats. I'm not coming to kill you. You are not worth me doing 20 to life.
But those people took it serious. That's the thing. You know what? They take it serious. Like I was on a podcast and the lady was asking me, she said, Ed, you know, you don't have a problem killing people off. I said, look, if I have to kill off Deathblade, you don't think I'll do it? Hey, they killed Superman. That was at that time. That was the Alan. That was the highest grossing book ever on DC when they killed Superman. I was like, how can you do that? You killed Superman. I mean, of course, we all know he was coming back. I mean, let's just be real, okay? But I get it. I totally get it, and I will do it. I don't care what people think, because you know what? That's going to bring people to me. They're going to read my book because of that. And you know, you can hate on me.
Ed, to this day, or at least when I got back into comics 20 years ago, I was in a comic shop near me, and a dude told me, because he actually used to work for another comic shop, but then he eventually opened up his own. And this is like 2004, 2005, and I was like, that's an interesting looking Superman, and I'm not a big Superman fan, despite the fact the oldest comic book I own in my collection is Superman 28 from 1944.
Oh wow!
Yeah, well, its significance is that it's the first Lois Lane solo story. That's its significance. But
that's a good. You better keep that one, dude. That would probably be worth some money.
A little bit, not a lot. It's not in great. It's like a 3. If it was a lot higher, probably sitting around like 10 grand, but it's like a 3. But what the comic book shop owner told me was this was the black bag version of the Death of Superman. And I was like, oh, he's like, yeah. He said, and this is 04, 05-ish. He's like, you'd be surprised how many people have never actually seen what this book looks like because they bought 20 copies and they kept them all in the black bag. You know, so he said, you'd be surprised how many people, but that was just an interesting little factor. But like you said, they done broke Batman's back. They depowered Wonder Woman twice. They killed Superman.
Right.
They killed Superboy.
They killed Superman about 2-3 times. They're gonna kill him again.
They killed Superboy, but that had to do with the legal dispute. Anytime they kill Superman, there's a legal dispute between Jerry Siegel and Joe Shuster's estate with DC. That's when they start killing super people. That's when they start killing super people. You know, but you're absolutely right. You the X-Men. I mean, you have had people individually die, but they've also died as a group.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Old Man Logan, you know, you're talking about, you know, Wolverine. I mean,
yeah, they done depowered Wolverine and all that stuff.
They beat Wolverine to a pulp. You know, I was kind of thinking like, how he keep coming back.
I mean, what is it? Sabretooth beat him so bad.
Yeah.
The only reason he survived that fight was because Kitty Pryde phased Sabretooth into the ground, held him there for 20 minutes, and when she came back up, they were on a different part of the world.
Right.
Speaking of that, that's like Killmonger. T'Challa never beat Killmonger. Monica Rambeau killed Killmonger.
Right.
I had to tell the top, and he was like, no, I said, read further, because T'Challa was getting his ass beat. And this is during Reginald Hudlin's run. He was getting his ass beat with thrice blessed armor. That means some motherfuckers prayed over that shit 3 times, bathed it in the holy oil, and you still getting your ass whooped. And Monica Rambeau killed him. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. They shot Captain America in the head. I don't know how we got to this point, but it's fun. But this is that because this is going on kind of long. And I know this is how Black folks talk. Supposed to end this like 20 minutes ago.
Hey man, but I enjoyed myself. I enjoyed Alan and Ronald. Hey man, I enjoyed myself. Thank you for giving me this platform.
There was only one thing I was going to talk about, but honestly, just based on the spirit of the conversation, there's no need to bring it up. It could always be brought up later. I just don't feel it in it. But I'm glad we're having this fun part, because one of the things me and Alan wanted to talk about was like, what does collect? You know, like we're Black, but what do you collect? Because me and Alan, we talk all the time, like video games, stuff like that.
I collect all. I mean, it don't matter. The Punisher, I like the Punisher, but recently, what I've been doing, I've been collecting a lot of indie comics.
Okay,
that's where my money goes. Wise Comics, Stranger Comics, Ray Comics, any good story that I think that you know, Advent, you know, publishing, you know, with I think they just said they were distributing Epiphany's Engine. Aren't they? Is that supposed to be finished?
It's supposedly coming out soon.
Really? Okay. There's a new update?
Yeah. Well, I will check. But
yeah, they said they
because
were.
the last one I saw, they still had 20 pages to go.
Well, see, now that's another book that I felt should have just went to the roof.
I mean, it was, but I backed it. I can actually.
It did very well. I backed it. It did very well. But
yeah, I backed it June 14th. I think, and this is where you got to have real conversation, right? We don't got to talk long on it because that's a whole show in and of itself.
Yeah.
I think they did not set proper expectations, and so it's like when we ask about it, it's like we don't want to see it fail, but at a certain point, it's like we almost 2 years from when the Kickstarter was backed.
How many pages? I think it was. How many pages did they say it was?
100, not 200.
Close It was like what 80, 190 or something like that.
Probably.
I think
Well,
it's
I honestly can't remember.
Yeah, and the fact that you said that, Alan, that you can't remember, and that's semblant of a lot of people. I remember, because somebody, I think it was in BCL, brought it up, and I know we eventually have brought it up too. And there was a lady, she's like, "Oh, I forgot about it." You know,
Yeah,
you don't want a book that's supposed to be that important. You don't want it to leave the cultural zeitgeist.
Black history.
Yeah, you don't want people to forget it.
Yeah, we don't want them to forget that. They shouldn't.
And then I can tell, and I can tell you right now, I know people that are like, my enthusiasm has gone down. I know for me, just being honest.
I just hope when they get the book, it builds it back up. Because I said those guys, the talent that was on that, they should have been on Good Morning America. They should have been on every Black media outlet pushing it out.
I would personally love to hear the story behind the creation. Because
yes, I do. I want to hear that too.
Because my personal thought is, and I could be wrong, but this is my theory. I don't think people were contractually obligated to do stuff and finish in a timely manner, in addition to setting proper expectation. Because here's this idea, and I believe the actual idea originated in BCL, and then they took it and they said, you know what, that don't sound bad, we'll run with it. And you thought this big of a thing could be done, funded and done in roughly 6 months with no story in place. And as I've told people, it's one thing if you have the story in place,
right?
Then you could get it done in 6 months, because that's about the average time for a trade. Well, I say Barnes and Noble says graphic novel, but let me use proper term: trade paperback. 6 comic book issues, making a trade paperback, right? Because I wanted to correct what I said earlier, because I said graphic novel, but really, when you were talking about those 300 pages, I meant to say you gave the guy 2.5 trade paperbacks. You know, so if you have that, then that 6 month timetable makes sense.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying. But to set something up like that and you don't have an idea, a story in place.
Well, I think he lost people too. He lost people, which, you know, once word got out that this was going to be big, some people got contracts and they left. They got promised deals and they left. And that, dude, that's hard. You know,
I imagine so.
That's
hard.
What I want to. As a creator, if that happened to me, I'd be like, you know, that. I mean, Alan. I mean,
yeah, it's not easy. It's not easy. But the interesting will be to see when it comes out.
I'm excited to see it come out, and definitely. I mean, the talent on it was a level. So
yeah, I mean, we'll see. We will see. I mean, like I said, I don't want to see it fail, but I definitely want to know the story behind it. Because like I said, I don't think people were contractually obligated to finish it. And so for me, just as a fan looking, like, I can't blame somebody. Like, if we're doing it on the spirit of let's do it for the culture, that's great. That don't pay bills. Culture don't pay bills. But you know what do pay bills? Contracts from DC and Marvel, because they pay on time and promptly.
Exactly. That's true.
That direct deposit do hit. And if not, they got an account. They will find your money. Because when they yes, they will. Because when they balance them books at the end of the year, they don't want you on them. There's a famous story about baseball about Ricky Henderson, about how the A's, when they balanced their books, they was over $1 million. Yeah. And they contacted him, find out this son bitch he done mounted the check on his damn wall. He didn't cash the check. They were like, could you please cash the check and then just have them make a copy of it so we can get his money, balance our damn books, you know. But look, man, it's been great. We're gonna end this show.
Yes.
If I had to rank it right now, because Jamal Crump's interview was really good. Damn, y'all right neck and neck right about now. I don't know who's ahead. When I calm down a little bit.
Hey man, Ron and Alan, I just thank you for inviting me and allowing me to share, you know, my thoughts, my opinions, and you know, definitely looking, Alan. Hey, we need to do something together. Definitely, you know.
Just give us your socials. Tell everybody where to get your book.
You can follow us.
To find you.
Yes, you can follow us on at Deathblade AWK on Instagram and also Skull Valley on Instagram. We are actually moving over to Fanbase gradually. So we're trying to build up that following as well over there. And you can also follow us on our website at www.skullvalleycomics.com. And just to let you guys know, if you go to the comic book section, the first 7 pages of issue 1 is free. You get to read the first 7 pages, and then you can find the digital pages. But something that I'm going to share with you guys as well, within, I say, a couple weeks, we are going to make 50 issues, physical copies available.
Okay.
First come, first serve.
Oh,
So
okay.
if you join our list, if you go to our website, join our list, our people who are following our list will get the first crack. But I'm letting you guys know ahead of time. So check out our website.
Okay.
All
Great,
right,
man.
y'all. Y'all take it easy, everybody. Hope you all enjoyed the show. Take it easy. Be blessed.
Yes.